there is no template on at what age should you realize that thing that you want to do.
The best teacher talaga, even for me until now, is being on set.
Ang objective ko sa buhay na to find that thing that I know I can do best.
We thought we're getting stronger, but I think the reality about it is we're just really getting used to the pain.
I don't want to delve into that. Baka maiyak ako but I lost my best friend.
Hello, we're here for another episode of Let's Go Podcast. Today, our guest is a very multifaceted person. We all know him as a TV commercials director, but he's also a family man, an athlete, and a mentor. His name is Sid Maderazo. Direk, kamusta? Thank you for going here.
Okay naman. Thanks, Pao. I'm honored to be here. Yung sinabi mo sa akin na meron kang podcast, na excited ako for you. Of course, when you invited me, I couldn't say no. So that's why I'm here.
Okay. I know na you're very busy kasi whenever I talk to Miss Chris, your line producer, alam kong punong-puno yung schedule mo. So we really, as a team, tried to adjust our schedule to accommodate your schedule. But,
maraming salamat.
Pero
thank
again,
you.
wala. We really have to do this episode for sure.
Yeah.
Ikaw ba pare? Paano ka pa nagsimula into whatever you're doing now? Kwento mo lang.
Okay, so I think mahabang kwento pero I'll try to compress it.
Sige.
When I started kasi, ang isa lang naman ng ang objective ko sa buhay na to find that thing that I know I can do best.
Yes.
Okay. Growing up, I had a lot of insecurities. I had a lot of issues with self-worth, issues about my appearance. I was growing up, I was the smallest in class, and I had so many insecurities, deep-seated. Maybe it was, I don't know how I got that, how I thought of myself negatively, always not good enough. Pero it was a challenge, Pero buti na lang magaling ako mag-drawing. Yun ang going back to what I said, ang importante is, and I tell this to students and to creatives na parang, even if it takes you a lifetime to find out what you really want to do in life, or maybe a day before you die, you suddenly discover na
this is what you want to do.
Gusto ko pala magpinta. Ayoko ng ganito. Then I think you've lived your life.
Okay.
Kasi the saddest thing, not just for creatives, dun sa mga tao na, yes, I cannot say na, let's mix our passion with our jobs.
Correct.
It's so hard to do.
It is.
I guess for some, they're lucky to even mix both. But for some, we have to drag ourselves to work because we just need to work.
Correct.
Because we need to make money to put food on the table, to put a roof over our heads.
Yeah.
No? Pero ako, and paniniwala ko talaga is, you don't have to be a creative person, but it's just finding that thing that you can do best. Kasi ngayon, madalang na makamit ka ng mga tao na tatanungin mo, tell me something that you can do best.
Are you saying, direct, na if we ask that question to a random stranger, like, what do you do best? You think there's a big chance that they don't know what to answer?
Yeah. I mean, I normally ask that to the younger generation, mostly filmmakers, mostly creative. Some are still lost, diba? Some aren't sure, but that's fine. I mean, there is no template on at what age should you realize that thing that you want to do.
Correct.
For the rest of your life, Because if you ask me, what do I do best? It is filmmaking and drawing.
Yeah.
Anything related to the arts. And if you ask me, have I found that thing that I want to do for the rest of my life? Yes.
Okay.
Diba? And that is not a common answer.
Yeah.
Most of the time, you always get uncertainty, not sure, and this and that. And I think as an individual, especially for me as a creative person, I think the goal really is to, you can honestly say that you've found something that you want to do for the rest
Yeah,
of the life, and you have found something that you know you do best.
Yeah. It's also difficult na, let's say, kasi there was an episode before that she feels very grateful that she was able to find what she wanted to do for the rest of her life and make a career out of it. Like you, di, parang she was able to do that. But it's also difficult to, be in a position wherein you know what you want to do in life already, but there are parameters or limitations in life that prohibits you from doing that.
Yeah.
For example, livelihood, day jobs, and obligations in life. Kasi, reality, di ba? Like life happens kung I want to paint, I really want to paint, but of course, I need to work, di ba? So, that's also different. So, I guess, there's also that thin line na parang, di ba? So, ano kaya direct yung, like, what's your opinion on when do you think a person should jump ships? Diba?
Okay. Nako, like I said, walang template eh. Alam mo yun. I wish I had a specific protocol on that, di ba? Parang I think it's really, like I said, pare, if it takes you a lifetime, you know, to find out what you really want to do in life, what you want to, what you can do for the rest of your life, even though you'll only live another day. Oh, I think that is, as a creative person, true happiness and finding your true worth. Kasi in my story kasi is that when I started going back to my my childhood, going back to what I said na parang there were so many parang insecurities, I had issues about self-worth, di ba? And I'm just so glad na yung salvation was in the form of my art.
Correct.
Alam mo yun? I was a class artist.
Yes.
And that's how I met Derek. Pwede kaming class artist no high school.
Yeah,
Pero nung since prep pa, that's what I even prep, I remember I would, in grade 1 and up 2, I would draw Voltes 5, yung mga...
Yes. Was
robots.
there sort of a small friendly competition between the
No,
two of you?
hindi pa kami. We got close to Derek when we became classmates in high school. Pero in grade school, that's how I started. I would draw most of the time. If you look at my notebooks, walang notes. Wala, parang puro drawing lang. Hindi, pero puro drawing lang. And yeah, I wouldn't say that I'm academically, I was excellent as a student, diba? Hindi naman ako academically challenged,
Yes.
but sakto lang, pasangawa. Pero if you look at, I've never won any academic awards, but I won a lot of art
art
awards.
stuff.
Art stuff, sa club, best in activity, nanalo ng mga pa-contest related to art. Yun na yun.
Yeah. And then, okay, that was grade school and high school. Pagdating ng college, did you did you take up a film course or an art course?
No, kasi ang nangyari, okay. So, just high school muna. No?
Sige.
Nung high school, I still had that same mindset. No? Parang, but the thing is, what kept me afloat was my art.
Okay.
And then, I really wanted to take up UP Fine Arts.
Okay.
And I wasn't expecting na hindi ako papasa sa UP.
Ah, shit. Okay.
So, from high school Ateneo, kumuha ako ng 3 exams. ASET, sa Ateneo,
Yes.
UP,
Yes.
and then sa Lasal.
Okay.
Pumasa ako ng Lasal. pumasa ako Ateneo miraculously.
Okay.
Kasi feeling ko yun ang pinakamahirap.
Yun naman yung pinakahirap.
Grabe. Tapos, hindi ko talaga na-expect. Kasi nga, like I said, hindi naman ako top of my class.
Correct.
Diba? Pero, sa UP, na-expect ko, UP Fine Arts.
Kala mo shoe-in.
Hindi ako pumasa. But the thing is, they didn't look at your skill. They just looked at your grades and your scores sa test.
Okay.
Diba? Which was the
Kahit fine arts ang kinuha mo.
Yes, if you wanna go to fine arts straight from if you wanna take UPCAT and you choose fine arts, ganun pa rin.
Ganun yung process.
Just like every student. Pero ang second ko na choice, pumasa ako. Pero vet med sa UP Las Bañas.
Somewhere.
So, I mean, it was dictated by fate that I ended up in Ateneo first. Kasi parang you have to understand, my dad is a lawyer. He's very smart. He's a bar top-notcher.
Wow. Okay, I didn't know that.
And I am definitely far from
kabila.
his...
Kabilang-kabila.
Kabila. Opposite ends of the spectrum. So there really was also pressure there.
Yes.
Diba? And
Pero in Ateneo, what course did you take up?
I took up IS.
Okay,
Pareho kami ni
international
Derek.
studies.
Pareho kami ni Derek, my best friend. So from high school, we went there. No, it's interdisciplinary
studies, yeah.
And then after that, I got kicked out
Okay.
on first year. And then...
For reasons I'm not gonna ask anymore.
No, actually, it's not really... Well, the grades obviously was the effect.
Yes.
No? The cause was, well, parang, wala, I dropped my subject.
Wala, tinamad ka eh, di ba? Okay.
Hindi ako nag-enjoy. So, buti na lang, yun na lumagpak ako, yung nasipa ako sa Ateneo, I found out in UP, Fine Arts, pwede ka pala makapasok sa UP pag
talent test.
Talent determination test.
Yes,
So, syempre pumasa tayo doon.
Yeah, of course.
Diba? So that was easy for me. We were asked to draw a Greek statue and then to draw a word or a series of words.
Okay.
And how you visualize it. There were 2 tests. And then, of course, I passed. And then from there, took up advertising, visual communications.
Viscom.
So, I'm 51 now. And if I look back, I got in UP 92. Like pretty much a whole chunk of my life was about advertising, about visual communications, right? Studying advertising or visual communications college, that really changed my life and my perspective. And I enjoyed UP. Doon ako nag-enjoy. Nag-UPM ako, UP Mountaineers. I met so many friends. And then, after that, when I graduated, although a lot of my friends, na mga director na rin yan, na classmates ko, dati. George Kawili, si Direk Carlo Directo.
Right.
Sila Joel Bohol. Yan,
no way, classmate mo siya. Okay.
Kami lahat. Ang dami namin na lumipat na sa advertising. Pero ako, 2 years nagbulab. I wasn't hindi ko type yung pumunta sa opisina, mag 9 to 5. Parang feel ko ayoko mag-ahensya, parang I just wanna focus on my art. So I ended up doing odd jobs.
Like what?
Ng murals.
Okay.
I helped my friend who is now fantastic and very prolific strike that out.
Sige.
So I painted murals. Kakatawa because that was back in the day when we were young. I used to help my friend Brian Ewing, who's now a painter. Very, very.
You used to help him out sa mga pieces.
Yeah. We would do you would do mga murals sa bars, restaurants, airbrush.
And ito, mga gigs mo to after college na.
Yeah.
Ito na yung mga initial rackets mo.
Meanwhile, yung mga kasama ko nauna sa ahensya, they've been badgering me to,
tara na.
punta dito, ganun.
Pero paano mo tinalon? Di ba? Sabi mo, nag-ahensya rin eventually. So, what made you take the leap?
Well, for me, I think it's just a series of a lot of things. But when I was invited to Macan, George was the one who invited me to Macan. George Acawilio was also a colleague. And he also invited Carlo.
Okay.
Yung barkada ko nung college, nagsama. Yun ang promise magkakasama kami dyan. So that happened. So, and I was so lucky enough to be under the guidance of Tini, Tini, Tini Gonzalez,
Okay.
and Zita Aragon.
Okay.
Doon ako natuto. Pare, only 3-4 years in ad agency. I worked as a visualizer for Coca-Cola.
Okay.
Sometimes dabbling in San Miguel projects and Jollibee.
Okay.
But my main account was Coca-Cola.
Yeah. When you say visualizer, is this different from art director? Or?
It is. Pero visualizer is parang yun ang entry point before. Kasi now, diretso ka na art director. Diba? So back in the day, that was 1998, meron pang visualizer.
So you're in an agency now with your friends, diba? And then all of these guys left the agency world eventually. Who left first?
I did. It was just 3-4 years in the ad agency. So ang nangyari kasi dito, that's why I consider myself lucky because nakatrabaho ko yung mga tanyag ng mga director.
Yeah.
Nung panahon na yun, ang idol ko si Direk June Reyes and Direk Raul Horolan. You know, and especially Direk Raul Horolan because he was from Macan, he was an art director and he transitioned to directing.
Correct.
You know.
So like you got inspired by the directors that you're working with, and then talaga you dabble on the set and you look at the cameras and all of that, production design. And then you decided to become a director. So was there a turning point, like a specific moment in your advertising career na parang, shit, boss, maging director na ako? May ganun ba?
Bro, nakakatawa to. Kasi magandang tanong yan. Kasi hindi ko rin alam kung what got into me. Pero, I think talagang nagsimula din I felt na I was overworked and underpaid.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Pero, I love advertising. But I feel that there was a calling na, kasi nga, na-inspire ako sa mga idol kong director eh. Direk Jun Reyes and Direk Raul Horolan, whom I still, up to this day, parang really look up to them. You know? And I really wanted to be like them. And the problem ko is, I didn't go to film school.
Right.
You know, it was so technical. That was 2000. I jumped ship 2001.
Okay.
Pare film yun eh. Diba?
Yes.
Nabutan ko pa yung film. We can dabble into that.
Sige.
Because I consider myself lucky to have witnessed the transition from digital to, or from analog to digital.
From film to digital, yeah.
And, but I took the risk. And I think this was how we opened this podcast was, pare, you gotta take the risk. Diba? Na parang, may isang magandang anecdote na nakita ko sa Instagram, si Sir Richard Branson. As far as I can remember, yung caption niya. Ang picture, siya, pati friend niya, they just crashed in a bicycle.
Yeah.
Like a bicycle, got themselves into a bicycle crash. And then, may sinabi siya doon that, parang sinabi niya doon na, a life without taking risks is not a life well lived. And I truly believe that. But I've had too many accidents and scars and broken bones in my body. Of course, I learned how to mitigate, you know, these
physical
things.
accidents.
Pero, you know, I still don't want to be in the safe zone because it breeds complacency. It also I feel that I'm not living my life to the fullest if I don't. But now it's calculated because there's there's a lot to lose.
Correct.
You know, I
You
have
have-
3 kids.
Yes.
I have a family. You know, so I think that's one of the things that's really stopping me from doing reckless things.
Correct. But
Okay?
you know, I'm sure when you say risks naman, not necessarily physical adventures lang, di ba? Like risks in life,
Risk
like,
and
you know,
decisions.
decisions and, you know,
Yeah,
di
yeah.
ba? Oo.
I feel that I'm a poster boy for all these risk taking,
Correct.
which
Kapag ano nga eh,
we can delve into later, di ba?
kapag ano nga eh, pag sinabing, si Sid na aksidente, anong type naman ng accident ngayon this time? What kind of accident this time? Parang ano na eh, parang normal na siya sa akin eh, di ba? Parang ganun lang eh.
Yeah. Ironically, sa triathlon, sa bisikleta, sa swimming, sa motor, na aksidente ako.
Longboard, di ba?
Pinakamalupit ay sa longboard.
Yun nga eh, parang sabi ko, talaga Sid nag-longboard ngayon? Talaga ba?
Actually, askado ko, parang, bro, 50 ka na, ba't ka nag-longboard?
Ayoko na nga sabihin yun, pero parang, exactly my thoughts, di ba? Parang
Okay
ganun
lang.
eh.
Truth, di ba? Pero, like I said, you know, if I dabble into something, I want to enjoy it. And I did enjoy it. And I really loved skateboarding, you know. I wasn't doing anything stupid.
Right.
In fact, I was
Well, you were vlogging while you were
was
skating.
yeah, without the helmet. Pero it wasn't downhill. It was just a flat surface or what seemed like a flat surface.
Oo nga.
Pero I picked up speed kasi
Correct. Yeah.
nag-vlog ako, di ba? Ang haba ng speed ko.
Totoo. Wala
Pick up ako ng speed, falls flat pala.
Wala na, Yun nga yan,
And then,
this car ko dito, longboarding yan. Pero, I knew it was downhill, but, you know.
pero ako, 3 operasyon.
Yun nga, oo nga. And a lot of money. So,
Yeah, it was really, but it's still a learning experience, di ba? I mean, and not to, yeah, well, actually, since the first topic we discussed was about my best friend's passing from an accident. Parang, ako, for me, I think that, you know, he lived his life.
can imagine.
There's a saying that, you know, someone had a great life when they die with their boots on. You know, because I think that's the best way to go. You know,
Parang airpot ko, di ba? I was telling you, parang the moment, kasi dinala ko siya sa hospital eh. Di ba? I brought him to the hospital, tas we never left na. Kumbaga, dapat pa-check up lang, pero kinonfine ko na siya doon. Sinundo siya sa tennis court. And then sa tennis court, inubos niya muna yung yosi niya. Di ba? Parang, taga lang, mga 2 minutes, inubos niya. Tara na. Yun na yun, up to the last minute, nag-yosi siya at naglalaro ng tennis. And then, yun na yun, di ba?
you know, ako, for me, your dad lived his life to the fullest. Kasi, you know, life can just end in flash, di ba? Pero parang I think mas maigi if you look back, di ba? Parang
At one point, parang, okay, di ba? Tama, no regrets din.
so if I passed, ba knock on wood, di ba? Parang yeah, I live my life.
Correct.
You know, I've enjoyed it. I can't complain, right? I found that thing that I want to do for the rest of my life, the thing that I really do best.
Correct.
Now, but going back, dun sa point na sinabi mo na, ano yung point na biglang na-decide ko,
Yes.
di ba? Wala eh. Para talagang gigila ako. I wanna really risk it. Even though wala akong alam sa film,
Yeah.
Hindi ako marunong mag-operate ng camera. Hindi ako marunong mag-ilaw.
Yes.
That was my insecurity for a few years when I entered advertising. When I entered when I jumped ship, diba? I became a director. Or at least attempted to become one. Diba?
Question, Direk. Sorry to cut you, pero I'm very, very curious. Kasi a lot of people will be able to relate here. People who already know what to do or found their calling, but then again, cannot jump ship because of obligations and all of that. You know, the security of a paycheck, day job. Ikaw, nag-resign ka for sure bago ka maging, quote-unquote, director ako.
Yeah.
Nag-resign ka. Pero gaano katagal bago ka nagkaroon ng paying gig? And,
Okay.
di ba, how did you manage that gap?
Well, kasi ganito yan. So when I said na, actually, after yung moment na yan, I was taking a shower. I realized parang,
Yun pala yung triggering point mo.
cold shower
Oh,
siguro.
cold shower pala.
Dumas, eh,
Oh.
Seriously, I remember that. I was 27. I said, I want to direct. I was 27. I want to resign. Now, that was the first biggest risk. The first biggest risk for me was leaving what seemed like a stable job before, diba? But I wasn't able to earn money because parang yung sweldo ko hindi naman malaki. Because I wasn't an art director yet. Hindi pa ako na-promote as an art. I was still a visualizer when I left.
Entry point.
But ako, yun yung risk. And I left my home like years ago. And then I was living on my own. I was renting a small apartment sa Kalayaan. Sa Barangay Pitogo.
Yun,
Barangay Pitogo.
Social pa, di ba?
Oo. Kasi mas malapit eh. Di ba? Taga-Taytay kami. Di ba? So
ito, nasa Makati na to eh.
Dad ko, I'm moving out. It's not work. I don't wanna travel. Di ba?
Layo nun, oo.
Di ba? Ang kotse ko noong time na yun, Kia Pride. Diba? That my dad gave me when I was in third year college. Pero dati, pare, sabit ako niyan.
Taytay, di ba?
Even nung Ateneo, di ba? Until college of fine arts. Enjoy ako sumabit, Katipunan hanggang Antipolo.
Yeah. Correct.
Kita mo.
Pero ngayon, pare, good luck sumabit sa Tikling, sa Ortigas Extension. Traffic, mga ngawit ka sa traffic ngayon.
Mag-aangkas na lang.
Tama.
So anyway, I digress. Pero nung time na yon, parang I took the risk, no? Going back, that was the first biggest risk because wala na akong income. Wala akong naipon. And I was paying for, nakakatawa yung sweldo ko was half of it goes to the rent.
Right.
Half of it goes to food and everything. As wala akong naipon. Right. But I took the risk and I even told my dad, kahit na maghihirap ako, but I want to live on my own. I want to be independent, So I was in the early years of being, 23 when I left the house. And then when I started working in the ad agency, I was already, And then from there, yun ang risk. And I had to crawl back to my dad.
Bumalik ka.
Hindi. Nandun pa rin ako dito pa rin ako sa Makati. Pero I had to swallow my pride. Kasi nga, sabi ko, alis ako ng bahay. I want to be independent. Diba? I want to prove something to myself and to my dad. Especially because, he had high hopes for his only son.
Kala niya maging lawyer ka. Pero...
Hindi. At that time, wala na.
Okay.
So, actually, umutang ako sa dad ko.
Okay.
Sabi ko, Dad, can I borrow money just to tide me over while I'm
looking for a paid gig?
No, because I already sent in my resignation.
Right.
To Macan. And he did help me out. At one point, pare, he wrote me a letter about looking yung how to view money, and how to be thrifty, how to may lesson yun eh.
Yeah.
Sabi na I don't want to just give you money, but I also want you to learn from this.
Okay.
Diba? Basically, that was the last time that I had to do that because parang sabi nila, you're on your own.
Yeah.
Diba? So I kept that letter, pare, for the longest time in my wallet until it just got ripped to pieces.
Yeah.
I wish I still had it because I kept it for years, more than a decade. This is a reminder, right? And then anyway, so eto na. Counter offer sa akin ng Macan, it was a good offer. It was like a cross-posted guy in Vietnam, art director, working under a legend of a creative director. It was such a lucrative offer that time na parang, wow, multiply by 4 or 5
Wow,
times yung sweldo
okay.
ko.
Oo.
Tapos, expat ka sa, ano?
Sa Vietnam.
It was stupid for me not to take it. But we're talking about risk. We're
Correct.
talking about being true to your calling. And I would betray the purpose and my intention if I took that job or suddenly I said na, hey, you know what? Nasilawan ako ng pera. I'll still do it. Even though I really wanted to do it. But deep in my heart, I knew that even though mas mahirapan na mag-start at wala akong pera, I still want to pursue it. And that's what I did. So, yeah. And eventually, I got a few gigs. In fact, I was still in Macan when Zita Aragon, I remember, there are two people who really were instrumental.
Yes.
No? And I'd like to pay homage to them. No? One was, of course, my boss, si Inet, I call her Inet, si Tini, was the one who really shaped me. She forced me to, during that time, she forced me to present.
Okay.
And, sorry, one of my insecurities pala was to, what is public speaking.
To speak in front of people.
Yeah. That was my fear.
Yes.
It was a real fear.
And now you're presenting, di ba?
And now for me, parang, I think now it's easy for me. Kasi parang, kasi you're thrust into that job. Eh. No, if you're a director, wala namang present para sa'yo kundi ikaw eh.
Correct.
And di ba, sabi ko sa'yo, mas you win half the battle if you can present and pitch your ideas well. So yun ang, I think it's a skill. It's something that can be honed.
Correct.
Right? And I envy people who just are natural or gifted
When it
public
comes to
speakers.
presenters, yes.
Diba? And we are, as directors, public speakers.
Correct.
Because we are in front of people, and most of them we don't know, and we are presenting an idea so they can buy into it.
Exactly.
So, anyway, nung time na yon, Tini forced me because she knew that I was like, I didn't want to present. Nahiya ako. I was just really just a visualizer. Doon na ako sa dungeon, di ba? You know, well, you know, your AE's account executives breathing down your neck. Oy, Sid, nasan yun?
Tama.
Tapos yung copywriter, di ba? Bigay
Nasaan
sa
na?
copy. Di ba? So, uwi na. Noong time na yun, kasi parang, oy, huwag mo ko iwanan. Tapos na,
Ganun
nasulat
nga
ko na
yun.
eh. Tsaka na, magpupuyat ka.
Ganun
But
nga
that
yun.
was the time during back in the day, and I love those moments. But ako, I was forced. Sid, mag-present ka. Kasi normally, puyat yung mga art directors or mga visualizers. Tapos ang nag-present mga copywriters.
So you were trained to present while you were still with Macan?
Yeah, kasi, pero normally kasi mga copywriters yung present eh.
Oy.
Kasi sila magagaling magsalita.
Correct. May sound effects pa yun eh.
Oo,
di
di ba?
ba?
Kami, parang drawing. Classic yun eh, di ba? Classic yun eh. When you say art director back in the day or visualizer, you create the concept together with the copywriter. But you also draw the storyboard.
Correct. So tell me about the first time you presented as a director.
Okay. Kabado. Kabado. Pero I knew this was the thing that I want to do for the rest of my life. Kasi nung time na yon, and then after that, magbibigay-pugay muna ako sa mga tao na nagbigay sa opportunity.
Sige, go for it.
Kasi yung ACD namin, si Ati or si Zita Aragon, moved na to ABS during that time.
Okay.
And then, and alam niya na magaling ako mag-storyboard. Pero hindi niya alam na meron akong dream of becoming a director.
Okay.
Medyo atras tayo ng konti.
Sige.
Bago ako mag-resign.
Sige.
Ano pa ako? Sabi niya, Sid, pa-storyboard naman itong isang... Kasi this is very important kasi this was pivotal and there's a lesson to this. So, back in 2001, she asked me to storyboard something for Direk Onat Diaz.
Okay.
For ABS-CBN, a commercial for props. Props kasi yung parang merchandising arm nila.
Okay.
Yung mga t-shirts.
Yes.
Actually, ganda na name, props, diba? Like ABS-CBN merch.
Tama.
So, if you feature daw, kailangan ko i-art direct and I need to visualize it based on Direct Onat's
Yes.
treatment. And I know Direct Onat kasi I work with him.
Yes.
Kasi I was an art director and he was a director, di ba?
Tama.
Or I was a visualizer rather. So, I worked with him for so many ads then. But the majority of my ads were from Jun Reyes and from Rol Horolan. Anyway, no time na yon, ready na ako mag-storyboard. So, during that night, doon ko na-realize na parang, actually, doon ako yung habang sa shower ako. Sabi siya, ako na lang kaya mag-direct. Ganon lang. Kasi yung idea ni Zita was very art-directed, graphics-driven. That's why she got me.
Correct.
I go, you know what? I can do this. You know, the next day, I called her and I told her, Ati, I want to direct.
Okay.
And sabi niya, putang ina, Sid, bago lang ako sa ABS, gusto mo ba akong masipa dito?
Yeah.
Diba? Parang, paano natin gagawin to, di ba? Sabi ko, no, just trust me. Kaya ko to. Kaya ko to. And sorry, Direk Onat, kasi syempre nasa lise, di ba?
Yes.
Na-cut ko siya. Sabi ko, no, just ask lang Direk Onat if okay lang yun. And you know what? She got back to me and said, Sid, game. I'm taking the risk on you.
Right.
So I presented. Actually, hinanong ko pa yung clamshell MacBook ng Macan. Tinakas ko yun para mag-present sa ABS-CBN. And then, they loved it. Art-directed. Puro graphics kasi. Tapos nag-shoot kami sa Unitel. That was 2001. And I think we shot January 2001. I was still an art director.
Right.
And then itong classic kasi nung time na yon, when you're thinking about, meron ako parang alam mo yung parang recognizing an opportunity is the first step to reaching your goal.
Okay.
Right? But if you don't do anything about it, wala mangyayari sa'yo.
Yes.
You can just recognize it, but if you don't do something about it, wala mangyayari. But doing something about it, and that's what I did. Nandito yung opportunity, putya, I'll take it. Then that's your sprint towards your goal.
Correct.
Kasi these are little things, could be mundane for some, but these are decisions that actually altered my life.
Yeah.
Because it was the time that, okay, I need to do this. And then from there, tuloy-tuloy na. I remember ang slate, kasi low budget yun eh. I remember yung slate, wala pa yung, I don't know why, but syempre Unitel naman yun, di ba? Pero syempre ABS, rent lang yung studio.
Yes.
Ewan ko, so nagmamadali kami. I remember yung slate was just styrofoam. Wala kang ganun. Styrofoam lang, tapos may tape doon. Nakasulat doon. Director Sid Maderazo. So even my name was misspelled. I was looking at it and said, shit. This is what I want to do.
Did you go through the process of presenting your... You went through the process of presenting, ganyan?
Kabado, syempre. Always, parang it was just it's always a big feat for me to... Just matawid ko lang yon yung presentation. But I was sure-footed on the treatment. I knew what to do. And then after that, I sent in my resignation. I said,
so,
I want to direct.
Is Macan aware of all of these? Kasi parang ninakaw mo, by the way, yung...
Alam nila yan.
Nakwento mo naman to.
Because I was one of the few, maliban lang sa... one of the few, no? I remember, hindi pa ganun ka-common yung, art direct or art-based creative from the agency jumping into directing, no? Pero, but during that time, kasi I was really lucky. I was there at the perfect time because wala pang, alam mo parang the industry back then, they were looking for fresh, young blood.
Yes.
But I wouldn't consider myself young because I was 27.
27.
But I guess they just wanted a fresh approach to things. And And yeah, so I was really lucky. Pati wala pa masyadong ganun kakompetensya.
Correct.
Because the fact is, I got into an industry wherein I really didn't know anything about film, but I knew what I wanted.
Yes.
Right? So that was for me very similar to how I got in Macan because I didn't know anything about computers. In UP, hindi naman kami tinuruan mag-Photoshop, pare.
Oo nga.
I learned Photoshop, I learned macro media, freehand when I entered Macan.
Medyo
But-
trial by fire talaga.
But yung mga boss ko, si Zita and Tini, they saw me and they saw the potential. Yeah. Even though I didn't have anything to show. At least I didn't, wala akong napakitang substantial that can relate to advertising. But yeah, that's where I learned. Doon ako nagpupuyat. Photoshop 3 pa yata.
Ako 7 na ako nagsimula.
Isang beses lang yung undo.
One time lang.
One time lang,
Oo,
pag wala
diba?
na yan.
Pagkamali.
Eternity din, wala na yan. So doon ako nandun na mag-Mac. Anyway, my point was, yun yung, when I jumped to directing, I had to learn the ropes. I learned while I was observing the directors when I was working for Coca-Cola, for Macan. But now that I'm the director, I surrounded myself with a solid team. And you know what? When I left Macan, I said, you know, my dream is to direct. I'm giving myself 5 years, and I want to go full circle and direct a Coca-Cola commercial.
Nice.
Pare, you know, it happened so quickly. In 6 months, when I left Macan, I already got my first Coca-Cola project.
Ad, yeah.
It was for a Christmas spot.
Okay.
I remember the team back then, ang director was, the cinematographer was Direct Boy Niguez.
Yes.
The legend, di ba? We're shooting film. It was really intimidating. It was under Filmex. Nakakatawa because nalito ako sa roll video, camera, and action. Kasi before, di ba? Motor.
Tama.
Or roll video. Di ba? Tapos, hintay mo muna yung cameraman na sabihin, speed!
Yes.
Kasi may slack yan yung film. So, speed! And then, action, di ba? So, video, camera. Nilito ako nun. Tapos, binulungan ako nung EP na, direct ito yung lab. Okay. So, but I was so proud of that because it was shot in film. I love that series, Christmas series for Coca-Cola. Anyway, my career really took off quickly. But during that time, even though I had so many projects coming in, I was a freelance director. I was still insecure about not studying film.
Okay.
You know, I was still insecure that I couldn't operate the camera on my own. And then that I focused on that. You know, just like when I first entered Macan, diba? Long sleepless hours, sleepless nights rather, studying Photoshop, freehand, vector graphics, working on a Macintosh in time na yun. And then now I really had to learn, you know. And then I didn't depend on my cinematographer for camera work. I would do cameras. I would do the camera work myself. I was so into it that, you know, pag may crane, pare, mga Pegasus, naka-seatbelt ka, film. Yeah.
You would operate the camera.
Yeah.
So that you learn.
Yeah. You know, I'd focus myself. Wala pa namang wireless ng time na yun, di ba? Operate the camera and shoot. Yung mata ko nasa eyepiece. I would do that for years.
Yeah.
It was fun because I felt in control. But eventually, as I grew older, I realized na I was just focused on what I see through the eyepiece. I failed to see the bigger picture. That's why now, I just sit
Correct.
in one corner.
Yes.
It's not as fascinating. Yung mga apprentice ko na first time makita ko, parang, ganyan ba si Direk? Nandun lang sa harap na sa TV. Sabi ko, teka lang, tanda ako na yun.
Yeah.
You know, that's why you know, now I feel like I have full control when your nose is away from the thing that you're parang mas maganda you see it from a bigger perspective. Anyway, yun lang, that's how it started. And then eventually I transitioned to digital.
Ragdi, you mentioned may mga apprentice ka. And I'm one of the products, you know, hello.
Yes.
Direct question ko lang. Kasi ako, when I started, I also essentially took the leap, di ba? Parang I came from photography. Galing akong Edge of Light kay Sandra Angeles, di ba? And then I cold messaged you on Facebook. I remember that. I always tell that to my friends na,
But you were still working with sila AIDS, right? No time na yun?
No, no, no.
Not AIDS. Sorry, strike that.
Sila Patrick.
You were working with Patrick.
Patrick,
Okay,
360, yes,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
came from that,
360.
mini production team. I messaged you, and then you asked for my reel, and then I can only present photography portfolio, and I have nothing to show. Pero sabi mo, sige, punta ka set, ito si Mama Riz, di ba? Siya bahala sa'yo. And then, unofficially, I became your apprentice without, anything na, okay, I'll mentor you, whatever. Sumingit-singit lang ako set mo, di ba? Ikaw ba, direct, you had that opportunity also to go through an apprenticeship? Or talagang
No,
yun na?
I wanted to apprentice, but there were no opportunities. I was really thrust into it because I really wanted to. So that's why, for me, when I see a young filmmaker who wants to learn, and if I can still accommodate, then I would, because, because for me, I believe that, kasi may mga iba siguro na pag nakita ko mga bata na, pucha, gagaling to. Forget all the jobs from me, di ba? My mindset is different eh. Parang I'd rather be known as the director who opened the doors for this budding filmmaker than someone who shut the door. Kasi kung yung filmmaker na yan, lumapit, had the guts, like what you said, di ba? You just sent me a message who kind of took a risk, di ba? Wala nang mawawala, di ba? And kung ang reason mo for turning down a young filmmaker from learning from you is not because of, which is true, at one point, sobrang dami na I cannot accommodate everyone, diba? So I have to sift through it. Pero kung ang reason is dahil ayaw mong mag-train kasi yung trade secrets.
Yes.
Hindi ako madamot sa information, hindi ako madamot sa wisdom. But now, information is free.
Correct.
But wala namang trade secret. Alam mo yun? So parang ako, yes, I'd rather be that person who will be credited at least as one of the people who helped someone. Because that's how I got into this thing in the first place. Diba? People believed in a kid while, in fact, I didn't believe in myself.
Right.
Diba? So I just want to return the favor. And then, so there. I mean, I started sa ABS and then yung mainstream ko, yung first mainstream ko was mainstream in advertising was for Touch and Go, FCB.
Touch and Go, okay.
Pare, memorable yan. Kasi ang nagbigay sa akin ng break naman si Miss Janet Barbara.
Ano ba? Si Miss Janet ang unang-una kong producer ever. That was for an Nescafe project.
Yeah, ako. Siya yung first producer ko sa mainstream na.
Yes.
Diba? And FCB, yung first ko na ahensya.
Galing.
With Arnold. And for me, that was, and she really gave me the break. She took the chance. Even though wala naman akong reel to speak of, except for that
ABS-CBN spot.
So again, I'm thankful for these people who gave me a break. And the same thing that you were an apprentice and look where you are now. I'm not saying that I am, because I only opened doors for you. What you've achieved is yours and yours alone.
Well,
right?
I'm very grateful to you also for,
And I'm happy that I was able to at least help or expose people to filmmaking.
Direct, ako I always believe kasi nga na, of course, you mentioned na information is always out there. Nasa YouTube na, nasa Instagram na, there are a lot of information, posts, and reels on how to do filmmaking, how to create content. Ang dami na, di ba? Pero the best teacher talaga, even for me until now, is being on set. Di ba? Talagang matututo ka set, whatever happens. Do you think apprenticeship is still important?
Ako, That's a good question. Actually, I never really thought about that. We have different, we have different paths. Some didn't go through apprenticeship like me. But now kasi parang, like you said, I mean, the information is out there. You just have to look for it. Right? Ang daming directors ngayon because now everything is accessible. Noong time naman na start ako, I can't afford to buy a film camera.
Yeah.
Obviously, 'di ba? And now sa cellphone, 'di ba? Napakaganda na ng mga quality. Cellphone na lang, 'di ba? Everyone and anyone can get into filmmaking, right? And in fact, when I look at the reels on Instagram, or I was like, man, I can't do this. Parang yung mindset ko ngayon is that before, when I was younger, actually pre-pandemic, even during pre-pandemic times, just recently lang, parang I was like still very competitive, very, gusto ko, I still want to be at top of my game. Diba?
Yes.
Very competitive, di ba? Na parang, I still want to be there at the top.
Yes.
And then the pandemic happened. And parang the mindset and your objectives and your priorities have changed.
Sort of shifted, yes.
So ako ngayon parang when I see a young director in work, teka, ang galing nito. Dati kasi parang teka lang, kaya ko ba to?
Yeah.
Pero ngayon parang, hindi ko kaya to, galing nito.
Oo, galing masyado.
Kayo na, di ba? Parang, the thing is for me, which I'm sure we'll get to, di ba? My life now is so different. So, and even the fact that I live in El Nido, I moved my family from the city to El Nido, is a testament of where my mind is at.
Direk, kasi di ba tayo, we're in advertising film production world na. As directors, we don't work 8 to 5 or 8 to 6 or 9 to 7. Hindi ganun eh. When we get bids or when we get requirements on where or when we are in the process of creating campaigns, our minds are always working. Di ba? Ako, hindi ko mapigil yun eh. Minsan, at 11 p.m., bigla ako may isip. Meaning, I'm still working. Parang ganon, di ba? Ikaw ba, direct, nahihirapan ka bang i-define yung thin line between Sid as Sid or Sid as the director? Kasi minsan, the work defines you already and alam mo yun, minsan ganun eh. Ako, kunyari, even when I'm not on set, my friends call me Rec D kasi kilala nila ako as Paolo who's filming, ganyan. Ikaw ba, direct, parang...
Well, there's, sometimes it's hard kasi parang, for example, gets ko yung question. Kasi parang, ako kasi now, I think it's just authenticity di ba? What you do at work is how you are to most people.
Yes.
But years ago, I was a different person when I'm at work. And I'm a different person when out of work. So my goal now is to really, I guess, to be as authentic as possible. Meaning, if I'm at work and I'm in a shoot, it's a high-stress job. And I believe that the years that I've been working as a director, it kind of defined who I am because of how I am. Not my work, but how I was at work. Which was very intense, which was init ulo, because it's a high-stress job. And that's what we don't need to expound on that. It is really a high stress industry that we are in. So, for me, I think that it is because of a lot of pressure to do good, a lot of pressure to succeed, a lot of pressure to be the best at what you do and to be the best in the industry. There's a lot of pressure sa clients. You need to satisfy so many people and you need to satisfy yourself.
Yes.
And ako, ultimately, kasi parang everything is amplified. I've always believed na when you're under stress, and now I believe, before wala eh. Kung uminit ulo eh. I'm not saying di uminit ulo ko sa set, but I handle things differently now. It's a natural reaction to get mad. It's natural to get upset. It's natural to be irked at work. But it shouldn't define who you are. Right?
Okay.
But if you draw that out, if you extend that, if hindi ka maka-get over dun sa galit na yun, and as a director, when people look at you and then you lose your cool, pare, everyone will be affected. And through the years that I've worked, before it was just, the only right way is my way.
Okay.
Right? If you don't do what I tell you to do, or kung meron kang ginawa na hindi parang ang thinking ko parang I had little maikli yung PC ko before di ba? Parang sige na, tangina.
You think ba direct sa set mo, people sort of operated because they're afraid of you?
Yeah, because I have this and this is for me now, my ethos, at least in work, is that, look, before I was yes, I know that I am good at what I do. But that doesn't translate. If you're a good director, and I think I am, that doesn't mean you're a good leader, right? Because it for me kasi, ang importante is, if you're good at your job, that doesn't mean you're a good leader. You don't motivate people. You just scare the hell out of them, di ba? Parang tinatakot mo lang sila to listen to you. Very Machiavellian, di ba?
Yes.
Pero parang ako, I'd rather people listen to me because they respect me, not because they fear me.
Yes.
Right? That's my mindset now. Hindi ko sinasabing hindi ako uminit ulo sa set. But iba na init ulo. And number one, I think for me, ang goal of a director is to become a good leader. And you really have, kasi before I didn't trust people enough that I just give them more elbow room, diba? It was really just my way. But ngayon parang, no, you need to preserve your sanity. Kasi if you get affected, if you're always, you have your fingers all over the place, di ba? Gusto mong makisaw-saw sa lahat. And that problem is now your problem. It's really going to kill you. You know? And ako, ang belief ko ngayon is that I will not allow, for example, mediocrity. I will not allow sometimes I don't want to say it, but stupidity, di ba?
Yes.
Sometimes at work. But mostly mediocrity, or at least mediocrity is equivalent to if it doesn't pass your standards.
Yes.
But who am I to say that my standards are high enough in yours? I mean, iba-iba naman tayo ng kapasidad di ba? So ako, inisip ko, I will not allow these things to affect me. Because my goal now is like peace of mind. Alam mo yan? Pare, I will not allow someone's mediocrity to affect how I sleep at night.
Yes.
Diba? To affect how I react to that situation.
Correct.
And for me, I think a good director is a good leader. Not if you can have like, magaling ka mag-shoot, magaling ka sa ideas. That's a given. Pero ako, you're the captain of the ship. You command people. You manage people. And I think you have to be a good manager. You have to be a good leader in order for you to become a good director.
Direct, speaking of, kasi whenever I give talks to Canon, diba? Like, I'm with Canon right now, and then one of my roles with them is to provide, small pockets of workshops on how to become a director. And I always tell that if you want to become a director, you don't necessarily need to operate the camera, but you need to be a good leader. You need to be able to communicate your intent to your team. My question is, when you're in advertising and you're a director and you're also wearing that hat to become, the captain of the ship, does that sometimes mix up? Meaning, nawawala na ba yung artistry mo because you are managing your team, your set, versus you're becoming a good leader, you lead them towards your goal, pero you rely too much na on your key staff.
No, the artistry happens pre-shoot, pare. You have to understand, like, people think that I have to attend the shoot to learn from Sid. For me, a shoot is just a shoot. There's a reason why, if you were to quantify kung saan tayo binabayaran as a director, hindi naman dahil sa shoot, pare. Kaya nga yung misnomer yung one-day shoot.
Yes.
That's my fee. You're not being paid for a day shoot. You're being paid for the whole project. You're actually being paid. The bulk of the work is the thinking part, the preparation, the treatment, right? Execution is easy. It's really how you do that. So, if you look at commercial, it's not just the shoot, right? For me, the most important thing is how you storyboard, how you do your treatment, and how you apply your ideas on storyboard from the agency.
Correct.
So for me, it's not losing your craft, di ba? Because the craft actually starts from not in the shoot. It starts from the moment you get that storyboard.
Yes.
But for me, pag nando ka sa set, now you're dealing with, it's not just you and a piece of paper doing your storyboard. Now you have to deal with, number one, following what you've already created.
Correct.
Diba? And at the same time, motivating people to be within the vision, to stay within the lane.
Correct.
Right? So ako, gusto mo uminit ulo sa set, fine. May mga excuse yan, diba? Pag uminit set, tapos parang, ganun, which I was like that before. Diba? Hindi kasi, hindi naman siya ganyan talaga eh. Mabait naman yan diba? Pero sa totoo lang, now I look at people, the true character of a person is how they are when they're stressed.
Okay.
Because it's really you. I was like that. Na amplified version. Diba? So parang ako, now, going back, it's about authenticity. So I need to be in the same wavelength when I'm here sitting with you, or with my family, or when I'm with friends, or when I'm alone, or when I'm in a shoot. My goal is that it has to be different. I don't need to shift, diba? And you're asking me about, sige, how do I separate the Sid at work? It has to be more or less the same, but
Correct.
my priority now is different. And for me, I believe that the work should serve you. We do not serve our work.
Yes.
So when you say, who is Sid Maderazo? I'm Sid Maderazo outside of work, and work is just part of my life.
Exactly.
But it's really what happens outside of work. So ngayon, I try to be same, consistent, di ba? Kung ano nando, kung uminit ulo ko dyan, ganun din ako uminit ulo sa labas pag hindi ako nagtatrabaho. But it shouldn't be always elevated.
Correct.
Just keep your cool. And again, my goal is peace of mind.
Yeah, I think that's a really nice place to be at right now. Not because, of course, like I'm sure you got there through many years of explosive moments, diba? Pero parang I think for the younger generation, I guess parang it's also a nice goal or a nice target for us to be there at. Parang, I want to be there, like wherever you are now, diba? Yung peace of mind, yung authentic self lang, everywhere you go. Whenever I play a sport, or I'm on set, or I'm with my friends and family, same Paulo yung makikita nila, diba? And I think that's really good, parang space or place in life to achieve. So, I'm sure there was something that happened to you that made you realize all these.
Yeah.
So what was the
Pandemic.
turning point? Yun nga eh, di ba? So,
Pandemic.
kwento mo nga, Rek.
Yung pandemic for me, I think that really was a turning point. Kasi prior to the pandemic, I got into really bad depression, But the thing is, for me now, you think, looking back, people say, oh, but bakit yung depressed? Okay naman yung career mo. Dahil mong projects. Tapos, you have a beautiful family. These are given di ba? It's really the internal turmoil, di ba? Yun yung, that will really suck you in, right?
And as artists, we'd always have that di ba?
For me, not just artists but I think it's just really, everyone's susceptible to it. We have different backgrounds, we have different threshold where do we go from normal, happy, and depressed, di ba? But during that time, for me, I wasn't happy. Just generally not happy. But I was still working hard. And for me, I'm not religious, I'm not even spiritual, pero I've always believed there's a higher force who is still continuously guiding me, 'di ba? Kasi parang nung time na 'yon, nangyari yung pandemya, 'di ba? Lahat reset button, 'di ba? And during that time, we got information na in 2 days time magsasara ang Manila, mag-lockdown. So we had to escape. We had to escape to we didn't know, but we just said either we go to La Union or Baler. We decided, kasi ang wife ko talagang, let's get out of
Manila.
here, di ba? Kasi we were living in a townhouse, and my wife said, no, we wanna get out, di ba? Not because we were feeling parang claustrophobic, but the thing is, it's just really the fear of not going anywhere. Alam mo yun? So, sabi nga, let's get out of Manila. And then we decided to go to Baler. And what was originally a 2-week stay, kasi may gamit lang kami 2 weeks. And we're still under stress, still stressed. Turned to be 9 months.
Correct.
And
Kasi we never really realized how long the lockdown would be. Kala natin parang, maybe 2 weeks and then game na ulit. And then extend 9 months. And then...
Yeah, and what happened naman during that time, di ba? I mean, the 9 months was really, for me, what I needed to learn in life, Parang during that time, and I still made a lot of mistakes, I was still intense, even though I was in a beautiful place away from the city. And I realized that's a lesson then eventually. But it's really, parang when you go to a beautiful place, when you're closer to nature, dinadala mo naman yung demons mo eh.
Tama.
Or you're not escaping, but you're just bringing them there.
Yeah.
But even if you bring your demons in paradise, it is better to cope with them when you're closer to nature.
Okay.
Than being locked in a room in the city and dealing with your own demons.
Yeah.
And I always believe that. Parang paradise can be hell and vice versa. It's really up to you. Right? So, when I was there sa Baler, I learned a lot. Like I got into birding, like
Oo nga.
hindi naman pupunta ka sa gubat, may dala kang camera, tapos maghihintay ka na ng ibon.
Pinag-usapan namin yan.
May realize mo, putya, 3 hours ka na, hindi gumagalaw, nag-aabang ka lang ng ibon para ma-shoot.
Mahilig ka na sa birds.
Yeah. Oo nga eh. Birds talaga. So parang, that became my hobby. Like filming, it's like, I call it bird cinematography. It wasn't, I shot them, not like picture, not photos. I really wanted to
Film them.
Film them. So that's just a small example of, parang you're just standing still, and you're enjoying the silence, and you're actually so present in that moment. So for me, I learned that, and then the fact that the kids were homeschooled, and then the fact that you could work remotely, and we all uncovered and discovered that na-unlock natin yun, di ba? And then this is I never really parang harp about it, or ayoko magtaas sa sarili ko, but I think this one I'm really proud of, because while I was in Baler, I created Sidekick, and gathered you and the rest, Marvy, diba? And so many filmmakers contact, diba? It became a network, diba? It suddenly I wanted to create a network or a collective of filmmakers, cinematographers, even copywriters, diba? So that we can all work together and help each other during the pandemic. And that came into fruition because while everyone was locked down and production industry shut down, we were the first to come out with a commercial.
I remember that.
And I'm really proud of that, right? And then, nanganak na yan, di ba?
Yeah.
And, grabe, okay yung nangyari. Because, di ba?
I remember that a lot of producers were messaging me parang,
paano yung ginawa? Did
oh,
we
parang
break
ginawa yan.
protocol? And then,
Correct.
di ba, we released
Yeah.
behind the scenes? And it's so, ako for me, yun ang beauty. And I think that's where I also want to go. Kasi because there will always advertising, there will always be that polish, di ba? May varnish palagi, di ba? We're using only beautiful people, di ba?
Yeah,
We're always presenting a product. Again, we're putting a polish to it, di ba? We're always making things a little bigger than
what it actually
a
is.
little more presentable than reality, di ba? But that's our job. And during that time, when we released that spot, it wasn't a pipichuga na, di ba? It was for...
Kanya-kanyang camera,
Di ba? And pare, it was for Vix, di ba?
I was filming my brother. I remember that.
Your
Sa garage
brother.
namin, di ba?
And
He was on a wheelchair.
That's a beautiful experience because you actors were filmmakers and their families.
Yes.
And sobrang ako, just looking back, it was just authentic. It was so authentic. And then even the clients and the agencies felt that. Na parang, wow, parang nawala yung varnish.
Oh.
We went deep, but it was authentic, but it was also cinematic. It was authentically, or cinematically authentic.
Yes.
Diba? And I think we were able to find that balance. Kahit na we were shooting like using small cameras or whatever we have in the house, pare, tos, puta, tatay, nanay, lolo, lola,
Tama.
diba? Kapatid, like you shot your brother.
Yeah.
I think these are real stories that, for me, I want to look back and go back to that because those were really the times that we realized that, yeah, this is what I love about my job. And we were able to do that remotely.
Correct. So, direct, I don't want to say naman na we started the movement of working remotely because eventually, like, the whole world will catch up. And then eventually, naging on-set na rin naman, di ba, with proper protocols. Pero, I think you're one of the directors who really was able to maximize the remote jobs and doing work. Kasi you were doing work in advertising while you were in Baler. Sometimes you fly in, and do shoots. Pero most of the time, you were in Baler. And then now, 4 or 5 years later, you moved to Palawan. Di ba? Sige, can you tell me how it all happened?
Pero before we go there, just a little bit of lang. Parang, I feel that, this one actually, ngayon ko lang natandaan eh. Kahit even before nag-pandemic, parang gusto ko din mag-unload dun sa... Because I was going through a lot eh. I was in the dark space prior to the pre-pandemic. Na parang na-realize ko rin na parang gusto mo na-unload. Kasi parang lahat tayo kailangan face-to-face sa lahat. Di ba? Pumunta tayo sa meetings. Yung stress sobrang high. That's one of the things that really affect our stress levels. But we just accept it because we can't escape it. Kahit nga nakamotor ka, partida pa rin, di ba? May stress pa rin, di ba? Kahit nakamotor ka, you can still get stuck in traffic. Pag sobrang traffic talaga. Tapos usok, gano'n. So ako, noong time na yun, parang, naligas ko, parang, wait, taka lang. Kailangan ba tayo mag-attend sa lahat? Doon sa color grading, to be honest, parang, noong time na yun, wala pang pandemic. Sabi ko, alam mo, padayan lang sa akin. We'll do it remotely. Di ba? Yes, sabi ko, even, like, months before that, pumapayag naman ng mga producers. Sabi ko, look, and they actually appreciate it. Parang, kung tayo pumunta, ako na bahala dito, papadala ko na lang sa'yo. Promise. Di ba? And some producers actually like that, di ba? Because okay, that's one less meeting to attend.
Correct.
I mean, if you jump from one meeting to the next, kahit Makati lang, pare, it'll take you 30 minutes at least.
Because there's also always travel time, di ba?
Tapos nun, for example, yung mga things na pwede na gawin remotely, I never sat down in an editing room probably for a year.
Okay.
When doing offline.
Okay. This was
pre-pandemic. Pare.
Okay.
Because I believe that, ano yun? Nakupo ka, mamando mo lahat, even with parang, no. Di ba? You give space to the editor. Hindi naman robot to edit na yan. Di ba? There are creative people.
Correct.
They need to craft it the way they see it. And ako, for me, everything becomes too prescriptive. Parang, It defeats the purpose. At the same time, I don't want to waste my time dyan. Tapos nakaupo ka lang, katabi, hintayin mo.
Tama.
Email nyo lang sa akin. Di ba? Doon na lang sa chat group natin. Right? Pero syempre, pumutok yung WhatsApp and the projects.
Yes.
Di ba? Sa WhatsApp or Viber or ano. But anyway, just needed to, now that I just naisip ko, prior to pandemic, I was trying to do remote work. Because I wanna unload because of the stress, di ba? Pwede naman tayo, we don't need to breathe the same air in a room.
The whole time.
Di ba? It's just useless eh. So anyway, pandemic happened, fast forward. And then after 9 months, we went back to Manila because my mom, who had cancer, felt na it was time for us to go home muna because she wanted to spend Christmas with us. And that was in 2021, in January, doon talaga na-plant ang seeds sa Baler. Because I realized na, siya pwede pala yun. You know? And then, why didn't I build a house in Baler?
Correct.
Well, lots of reasons. But mostly because ang daming bagyo.
Okay. Which is true.
But I love Baler. It will always hold a special place in my heart. But since I had property in Palawan, in San Vicente, that's the first thing that I wanted to build my house in. That's why 2021 January, Derek, my best friend, we rode from El Nido to El Nido wasn't in the radar, and then when I went there, back then, parang nothing, walang I mean, but I have good friends there, pero parang hindi pa yung community na parang feeling ko parang hindi pa yata hilaw pa. So it was Derek who actually said, you know what? We stayed at Seda in El Nido just a week ago. Sa New Year, meron silang bubble travel Travel bubble. Nandun ka lang sa hotel. Sabi na, why don't you book there and experience El Nido? It was because of Derek. He gave me an idea na, you know what? Yeah, I'll give it a shot. Kasi doon din kami lumipad eh. So we cut our trip in San Vicente one day ahead, went to El Nido, stayed at Seda, Leo, met people, saw the community, and fell in love instantly. And then after that, I brought my wife, Kat, it was her birthday. Everything happened in January 2021. And I showed her and the kids, went to Seda, stayed there, showed them the things that I saw, experienced, met people, and that was sold.
Pero going to El Nido and Palawan, you already had the mindset na parang, okay, I want to move somewhere else and leave Manila.
Definitely not in Manila. Not in Manila. After experiencing Baler,
yeah.
pare, sabi ko na, ayoko na bumalik sa Manila.
Well, you know? I'm sure sure ako na this is such a big move, di ba? Kasi it's uprooting.
It was the biggest risk.
That was the biggest move and risk for you, and not only for you, but for your family also. Like the kids moving from one school to, to Earth School now, and then si Miss Kat also, di ba? So, how did you deal with this?
It was hard kasi I was escaping from something. Di ba? The city represented for me, at least during that time, all the bad things, mostly the stress, mostly the traffic, mostly the pollution, and everything that, are the negativity in the industry, diba? So it was really plain and simple, an escape, and I escaped to Baler with my family, and then for me that's such a big risk because it was my idea. Bitbit ko yung pamilya ko. Di ba? And I'm just so thankful that my wife, Kat, supported me every step of the way. Even though for her, it was also hard leaving her friends here in Manila. And ako, I was set. Set. And back then, Kat knew that the force is strong with this one. And I'm really happy that she supported me. There were risks, and even during that time, we found our lot. Everything happened 2021. You know, I started looking for property in El Nido and found the property. Everything fell into place. But during that time, wala pang school because we were prepared to homeschool the kids. And I was prepared that I knew that my work would be affected. Out of sight, out of mind. If I leave Manila, people think that I've retired.
Yes.
Ayaw ko na mag-work.
Yes.
Ganon. I wish I could say that, di ba? But I love my work and I still work to this day. But during that time, that was a risk. But I didn't mind because I really want to live in a place where my kids can grow up close to nature, where we can breathe fresh air, when we can actually, for me, the priority is quality of life. Diba? Lumaki tayo sa syudad. Ang inisip natin, dun lang tayo. Pero for me, it's really just expanding. I'd be the last person to expect to move to the province.
Yun nga eh.
Diba?
Kasi parang a lot of people got surprised na parang talaga si Sid ang mag-move to Palawan. Eh, he's the least nature person eh.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
before pandemic, di ba? Parang pag sinabi Sid, city
Parang
dweller.
biktima tayo sa mga worldly things eh, di ba? So parang for me, ako nagulat din ako sa sarili ko. Pero
especially with the nature of our job, di ba?
Yeah.
Na parang it's almost impossible to move far from Manila when we're attending a lot of meetings in Makati all the time, di ba? But then again, pandemic
But
happened.
then, because pandemic happened, kasi for me, ang daming, lahat tayo nag-suffer, lahat tayo dumaan sa kahirapan, di ba? Lahat tayo na-affect. And I think sayang naman yung this thing that really affected everyone globally, parang I wanted it also to have a huge effect. The net effect should be something positive for me and my family. So that was the big risk. And yun ang kinakatakutan ko. Paano yung happiness ng asawa ko? Kasi happiness ko lang naisip ko eh. Pero I knew that it is the risk that I need to take. And Kat knew that it was a risk worth taking with me and with the kids. The kids were still young. That was almost 3 years ago. But I was worried about my eldest kasi syempre she was 13 when she moved. Syempre, mas deeper relationship yun eh, di ba? With her friends in school. Pero ako, it was a risk worth taking and I'm glad that I did. Kasi yung mga doubts yung time na yun, I remember I documented that when I picked up my family. I posted this in the
I saw that
Instagram,
film,
diba?
yeah.
It wasn't really for public consumption, but I felt that I needed to document and just share how I was feeling in front of the camera, just for me to look back at. But I decided, I think it's something that can inspire people. Kasi yung fears ko doon about yung anak ko, mag-enjoy ba sila dito? Will they meet friends?
Yeah.
Magkakaroon ba ng school?
Yes.
Kasi yun ang importante. And paano yung career ko? Because, lilipad-lipad ako pag paano kung bumalik na yung tayo sa mga face-to-face meetings?
You required na, di ba?
Yari, di ba? And then, ako prepared ako. Sabi ko kasi, during nung stay ko sa Baler, happiness is not found because of how much money you have in the bank or how many projects you have. It's just really, for me, for me, I value really the
headspace.
And for me, I think the life that I've built now in El Nido with Kat and my kids and the community there, for me, it's just really something, for me, the ideal way to live. Yeah? And I think quality of life. Kasi for me, even though El Nido is such a beautiful place, naturally beautiful, but for me, if there's no community, parang baliwala yun.
Yeah.
Diba? Ako, for me, a place is only as beautiful as its community.
Correct.
And then when, parang midway, dun lang nalang na may school lang gagawin, Earth School. We're really, really blessed. It was really answered prayers for us parents. Kasi ang dami families yearning for a proper school. And we're just so lucky that Earth School was built the year that we moved in.
The year that you moved in.
To our new house.
So imagine mo parang hindi na kayo dumaan ng homeschooling even for a year, no? Sakto na you moved in and then Earth School is being built. Direk, you mentioned this na kanina. I wanted to ask lang because I'm very curious. na-affect nga ba ang work mo when you moved?
Na-affect.
In
And
what
I
way?
knew that. I knew that. Kukunti yung projects, yes. Iba yung pananaw ng mga kliyente na parang I'm no longer there. My focus is Yes, of course, my focus is now in El Nido because that's where I live. And my focus is more family and more my life outside the city. But that doesn't mean that I've abandoned my career because I'm still here. And that's the reason when you see me in Manila, that's because I'm here for work. And sometimes, when I feel lucky to have this type of lifestyle na, di ba? Tawag ko nga sa iyo, prom direct, di ba?
Yes.
So, from the province, director. So, basically, the log line in my movie is, I live in El Nido, I work in Manila.
Yeah.
And I'm lucky to be scratching that city itch. You know, sometimes I get to fly to Manila and work. And sometimes, pag tumisilip ako sa window na aeroplano, when I see the gray city from the window plane, from the plane window, parang I feel grateful because I know that there's a job waiting for me. But when I look and going back and look at the window and see the islands of El Nido,
that's home.
I feel grateful because I'm coming home
Correct.
to paradise, to my family. So, I think ang punot dulo nito is this. Ang priority natin is peace of mind. Ang priority natin is we don't need to be happy all the time because hindi naman ako nakangiti palagi. I'm so happy. Diba? Positive toxicity yan, pare,
Yes.
diba? Ako just live authentically. Always value quality of life more than anything. Ako, for me, importante yung take risks because you'll never know. Diba? I took the biggest risk of moving and uprooting my family from the city to the province. And I took that risk, and I'm glad I did. Because you'll never know until you do. And if I fail, if it was the biggest risk and I fail at it, then I learn from it, diba? I know that I'll still be able to steer back into what I feel should be the best course of action.
Correct.
For me and my family.
Kasi you're a very multifaceted person, di ba? One, there's your career, you're a director. You're also an athlete, di ba? You do triathlon and then, obviously we see you now train for maybe another race or event. You're also friends to a lot of people in different categories, di ba? Hindi lang puro advertising. You're into, you're friends with a lot of people. And you're also a family man. Your dad, your husband. And you're mentioning about being authentic to yourself and live an authentic life. You're surrounded with different people, diba? Your different voices, different types of personality. How do you anchor yourself to be as authentic as possible and not be influenced by different people?
Bro, you've heard of that book, diba? The Art of Not Giving a Fuck? Yeah.
So I've read that.
Parang before I used to care about what other people think, what people think about me. Everything just happened. Parang ako, for me, I believe because I'm now into I read a lot about neuroscience and there's something called neuroplasticity that our yung mind natin, we don't stop growing and evolving. Diba? I always believe in evolving, not changing. Diba?
Evolving, not changing.
When you're evolving, you're not going the opposite direction. You're just moving forward and becoming a better person. Change is you can change for the worse.
Yes,
diba?
Correct.
And our goal is to evolve, right? And ako, when it comes to authenticity, in dealing with people, pare ako, for me, when I deal with someone, now I trust myself more. Kasi before, because of our self-view, sometimes we doubt ourselves more. And ako ngayon, let's say you mentioned I have so many friends. Yes, I have so many friends. Just like you, like everyone. I only have a few close friends. And I treasure them and I love them dearly. But Ako for me kasi ngayon, parang I don't force myself to be friends with people. You know, it has to be natural. If I feel off, kasi as directors, we have high perception.
Yes.
Diba? That is a skill. If I'm looking for an actor na mukhang siga, I get an actor na mukhang siga. Or at least someone who naturally exudes that. So when you shoot them, hindi na sila mag-act.
Yeah.
Because that's natural to them. When I deal with people, is that first impressions can mean a lot, but it doesn't really define who that person is. You know, pwede tayo maka-meet na isang parang nakupal to, di ba? Or if I meet someone and I feel na parang off to. So you always, if you hang out with them again, before kasi I would always self-doubt is that maybe it's just me, di ba? But now, some people don't click, di ba? And ako, it's fine. I always think that okay lang, di ba? Okay lang if you don't click. I don't need to force myself to click with you. Diba? If we click, we click. If we don't, we don't. It's not your fault. It's not my fault. But besides, madami naman tayong friends. Hindi na kailangan magdagdag pa. Diba? So, again, going back to that book, The Art of Not Giving a F. Totoo yun eh. Kasi parang we don't need to care too much. You know? Like I said, the goal is peace of mind. I don't lose sleep over what people tell me. I don't lose sleep over what client or an agency person or a colleague na may sinabi silang masama about you or your work. Fine. Diba? If you hear, direct, sabi nung na medyo ayaw ko ng katrabaho dahil pangit ng ginawa mo. Yeah, fine. Yung nakakatawa sa work natin is that we're only as good as our last project.
You're super correct.
Loyalty is not really a strong suit in our industry. Alam mo, parang we're all disposables, right?
Si Luka nga tinraid eh.
Oo nga, yun nga. Although, hindi ako nag-follow ng basketball, pero
it's all over.
Ako ngayon, diba? So parang we're all just pawns in this industry. And that's why I don't put my life entirely in my work, diba? Because my life is separate, diba?
Which brings me to this point, Direk. Kasi prior to this episode that we're filming, I was going through something and I messaged you about it, diba? I'm being very candid about this.
Go lang, pare.
And I'm dealing with a lot of demons and insecurities because I don't know if I should mention this, but I was in a series of losing a lot of bids. And that's very normal. We're so used to this. Pero parang this one is different for some reason. I don't know. And I messaged you about it. And I considered, I don't know, maybe quitting, maybe shifting careers already. Pero you always tell me to, stop, let's talk, and then let's figure it out. And always you tell me every time I go through this kind of episode is that, pare, naman, di ba? Like, parang you have to sit down and reassess and don't give too much F to whatever people tell you. My question is, those pieces of advice are very sound. Because
easier said than done, though.
Parang ganon, di ba? It's very sound. And I know you're right, di ba? And I should apply that to my life all the time, as much as possible. My question is, do you still ever go through that? Yung self-doubt, yung nialam mo ka ng demons mo, yung, alam mo yun, parang, am I still relevant? Am I still, should I still be in this industry?
Of course, these are all parang knee-jerk reactions and most of it are natural human reactions to situations. But it's just really how it's not about the initial reaction, it's about how do you want it to affect you. Kasi sa punot dulo, nasa yun eh. Do you allow it to affect you? Do you open the door for that issue to affect you? You have the power to close that door and shut it off and shut it out. Easier said than done. Diba? Easier said than done. It took me fucking 50 years to get to a mindset like this, a headspace like this. I still succumb to sadness, to depression, to frustration, to anger. But ako, for me, I just consider this as part of life. Di ba? Ganun naman talaga eh. Minsan nasa taas, minsan nasa baba. Ebb and flow. And that's how life is. Pero ako, when we lose because it is part of the job.
Yeah.
Pare, if I probably look at the bids that I've done and look at my batting average, baba. And now, especially now, back in the day when I started 2001 as a director, konti lang naman ang director nun eh. But now, ang daming directors, ang daming talented. Because right now, we talked about it, like, everyone can be a director. You know, everyone can be a filmmaker, a content creator. And that's good. But eventually, kasi parang, if you give them the same tools, everything is equalized, but you still see which one will float to the top and which will sink to the bottom. So ganun lang naman yan eh. Just like AI now, di ba? We say it's a tool, but to be honest, it's a different animal. But the thing is, if you give the same power to all, you'll still see who will be good and who's going to sink.
Correct.
Now, ako, for me, I just roll with the punches. Because now especially now, we cannot put all our eggs in one basket. We have to diversify, pare. Kasi ako, for me, I'm prepared. In fact, to be honest, as sinasabi ko sa'yo, alam ko naman na ma-affect yung career ko if I move to a legal. You know? But ako, for me, that will only, it's good. Because if your back is against the wall, if you feel na, shit, pare, parang ang dami ng director, I can't get my foot in the door. For me, what does that tell you? Diba? It's a sign that, hey, maybe I need to diversify, still not leave my work, but at least there are things that I probably can do.
Yeah.
Diba? Especially now, pare. We can't fight that force. It's a tidal wave of so much talent and so much competition, diba?
Correct.
Hindi mo pwedeng labanan yun kasi ikaw lang yung bibigay eh. Ang maganda is that, try to find other opportunities within that scope of what you can do best. Again, don't force yourself. And look at you, you're doing a podcast now. Diba? You're into collecting things, like watches, and that will open eventually doors, diba? We can't just rely on advertising. This is more to life than advertising. But that doesn't mean that we don't love it. Because I love advertising. I love my job. I'm very grateful for my job. And that's what I can only say that I can do best.
Yes.
Diba?
Yes.
Wala nang iba. Diba? Pero ako, for me, parang now we have to be creative. And you put your creative thinking and your creativity into how do I evolve. Diba? Kasi pare, kung ayaw na ng isang aspect, kahit pinipilit mo, hindi. But don't doubt yourself. Ang dami factors eh. You probably have a better batting average than me.
Oh,
diba?
no. you wouldn't believe that.
Pero parang, but what does that tell you? You can't just, ano ko lang is that, yes, you have the choice na pwede kang you sulk in one corner. But don't let it change your perspective. Palagi naman tayong natatalo sa bids. It's par for course.
Yes.
Diba?
Yes.
But for me, what does that tell you? Anong gustong sabihin? Diba? Like I said, I'm not religious. I'm not even spiritual, but I know there's a higher force that there will always be a message behind everything. And I think this is one of the things that I want to impart to you and whoever will watch is that we always look at ayoko sabihin the brighter side. There's always a silver lining in whatever. There's always a silver lining kahit na hirap ng pandemya, 'di ba? But we just have to find that sliver of that silver lining or a sliver of hope.
Yes.
Na ano yung kagandahan ng nangyari dito sa hindi magandang nangyari, 'di ba? So, I'd rather focus on that.
Yeah.
Diba?
Yeah.
No matter, kahit mahirap pare, kahit mahirap tignan. Even though if it's, fuck man, I mean, you just have to let the dust settle, but actually it's there, diba?
Then suddenly makikita mo lang naman yan. Ma-realize mo lang yan once everything settles.
Yeah. For me, Ganun lang. I'm not affected na parang, laos ka na. Totoo naman siguro, di ba? O, di ba? Ako, for me, parang I'm just being realistic, di ba? I cannot pretend that I'm always at the top, di ba? And I know, and for a fact, that ang daming magagaling, di ba?
Madami.
Di ba? So, well, does that affect me? No. I'm happy for that. I'm actually happy to stand on the sidelines and cheer, you guys on, the younger generation. Okay yan. Hindi na yung parang dati na parang just, the best ako. Di ba? Di ba? Wala nang ganun di ba? Why? Why do I think of that? Because I'm just being real. I don't want it to affect. Because if I always fight something that is inevitable, walang mangyayari. You'll only succumb to that. Diba? So you'll break eventually. So ako, I don't, because I feel that there are more to life than just one thing.
Yeah, maybe this maybe a next chapter for you, diba? I mean, it's not the end of the book. Maybe a next chapter lang, next page lang, diba? So hindi pa siya ending, hindi pa siya end of it all, diba?
I think there's a lot of things that I want to do, and probably what you're doing now, diba? I mean, content creation, I think, is really the future. You know, how we utilize AI also to our advantage. Still thinking that it's a tool, right? But never lose sight of the craft.
Yes.
And how do we evolve, right? As filmmakers, what's the next step?
Correct.
Advertising is constantly changing, and we also have to change. It's never going to be the same ever again. Pare, alam mo yan?
Yes.
Advertising has shifted.
It's just like when
industry have changed.
Just like when you started sa film, as in like roll yun ng film, diba? And then it shifted to digital, and then shifted to more pocket-sized film production, and then now it's changing again, diba?
Kasi dati film, diba, parang untouchables kami. We know film.
Yeah,
diba?
yeah.
Nobody can claim that they're directors because
Correct.
they can't buy a film camera.
Yes,
I
yes.
couldn't afford the film camera back then, di ba? And I never owned a film camera.
Tama.
And then biglang DSLR, digital, biglang, floodgates, di ba? Pumasok na lahat. Lahat nagiging director.
And then suddenly, social media, ang dami ng opportunities to post
Everything
your work.
has been democratized, pare, di ba? I mean, you don't need to depend on a network now. You don't need to depend on a huge management machinery if you're a celebrity. I'm not saying that it's not a necessity, di ba? Pero ako, for me, it's just sariling diskarte na, because social media and social media platforms gave us an opportunity to become, in a way, to have a bigger voice.
Yeah.
Di ba?
Yeah.
Ako, for me, I think that's where the future is. And now everyone has a camera, everyone has an agenda, everyone has a gimmick, di ba? But on the practical side, how do we monetize it, di ba? I think this is also part of the thing that, let's say, for example, now we work with big brands, di ba? And then now when ito importante ito kasi parang in perspective, parang when we work with big brands, it is a job, right? And our job is to make that brand look really good.
Yes.
Even though we don't use the product.
Yeah.
So yan, di ba? It is a job, di ba? Even if you don't believe na, okay, even if you don't eat the product, even if you don't consume it, even if you don't use the service, even if, let's say it's not the telco that you use, but you still, because it is a job.
Yeah.
And every job you have to consider as a blessing. Before, dati parang, ayoko yan.
Yeah.
Di ba? So ako ngayon parang, we can only do so much. And sometimes it's sad that we are judged because of our last work, but sometimes you know that, ako, for me, ganito lang yan, as long as you do your best. But there's so many factors that will not make a commercial look good or be successful. So many factors, But in the end, sometimes the blame falls on you, di ba, as a director. But it is what it is, di ba?
Yeah,
So
correct.
okay lang yan.
Direct, it feels like you've already lived a full life. I don't want to say naman that you're towards the tail end already, but you found what you want to do in life, you're doing what you want in life, you're making a living out of it, and you are now in almost, you're in the self-actualization in terms of paying it forward, teaching the younger generation, and then evolving na, di ba? And adapting to change.
Yeah.
If you can talk to your younger self, very cliche, if you can talk to your younger self, would you have done it differently? Is there something that you want to change in the
Well,
process?
good question. Pero there will always be naman things that we regret doing. But without regret, then there will be no lessons, right? Ako for me, I don't think that actually this is a good question kasi when ako nung kabataan ko and I did share that, 'di ba? Daming challenges, 'di ba? Self-worth, insecurities, a lot, no? And the confidence level was really low and it was just really thrust into this job and then the fear of public speaking. Okay, for me, would I change that? No. Kasi feeling ko, if I had it differently, if I grew up confident, if I grew up extreme, well, everything was just so easy, na ang dali ng buhay, I wouldn't probably be sitting here talking about that, diba? I would have turned out differently. I'm not sure if I'm not sure if it's a better version of what I am now or if but I feel that what I have now and the challenges that I went through, yun yung yun yung kailangang mangyari. 'Di ba? So ako for me, I just really thankful, 'di ba? Yun na silver lining pare.
Yeah.
Tanga na ba't nangyari sa akin to? Bro, isipin mo lang yun na kailangan mangyari. And what you do and how you react to it and how you want it to affect your life is all on you.
Yeah.
'Di ba?
Yeah.
And ako ganun lang. Just like me moving to El Nido, El Nido is not a sure quick fix, di ba? Pare, paradise can be hell. And like I said, you can turn hell into paradise. It's really just a matter of perspective and how you look at things. A lot of things to unpack, especially the start of 2025 was really didn't start well. I don't want to delve into that. Baka maiyak ako eh, but I lost my best friend January. So I think that really dictated the tone of the start of the year. When he passed away January 13 from what seemed like a leisurely, enjoyable day on ATVs, no, that turned tragic. I think really that year has been tough for me this year. Just to be very open and candid about it. Pero, life goes on, but it's really a struggle every day for me. I cannot hide the sadness sometimes because Derek, my best friend, has been a huge part of my life. We've known each other since high school, same school, same kaming class artists, pareho kaming nasipa sa Ateneo, pareho kaming pumunta sa UP Fine Arts, pareho kaming nag-ahensya, pareho kaming nag-directing, pareho kaming art director. We speak the same language, and we're always together. There's so many parallelisms between our lives, and it's really hard to really still accept the loss of a dear friend like Derek. But yeah, I think life goes on. It's good that I am aware of where my mind is now. I'm not in denial or I'm not, hindi ko naman sinasabi na palagi kang ganun lang 'yan, 'di ba? Waves na 'yan, 'di ba?
Tama.
I remember I went to your dad's wake.
Yes,
You know,
yes, yes.
it was difficult, and I know that you loved him so much, right? Pero ganun talaga eh, parang there comes a point na we just have to accept and move on.
Correct.
But that doesn't mean we're going to forget.
Correct. Yeah. One of the things that you mentioned to me before is the pain would always be there. And then the sad part about it is that we thought we're getting stronger, but I think the reality about it is we're just really getting used to the pain and not essentially moving forward without them, diba? So parang, I mean, we all love si Derek and he's touched almost everyone's lives at one point. Pero I can only imagine the pain that you went through because pare ako, I can't imagine Sid without Derek and vice versa. Aside from his family, parang laging ganun eh. Parang nasa si Derek, I'm sure with Sid. Parang ganun eh, di ba? So, yeah, may condolences, of course, di ba?
Thank you, Pao.
Direct, I super learned a lot. I super needed this talk on a very personal level. I super needed this episode to happen. And coming into this episode, I thought this is gonna be like another episode lang of our podcast. Pero it felt too real. It felt too personal for me. And while we're here, I wanted to thank you not only for attending the episode, but for everything. For being my mentor, being a friend, for always being there every time I message you on WhatsApp. And you would always reply. Ako na nga minsan yung tumitigil mag-reply kasi parang ayoko na, parang nakakahiya na. Pero you would always be there. And I want to put it on record that I'm grateful to you and for everything that you've done. Even if you're not aware of it, you've done so much for me and obviously for my family. And salamat lang.
Thank you, Pao.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you.
So,
I'm really happy to know that, and thank you for having me here. And okay to. Yeah.
And I'm sure si Derek is somewhere here. Yeah, I mean, alam ko dito siya.
Dito katabi ko.
Yeah. So, yun. Pare, salamat.
All right.
Thank you everyone for listening. I hope you were able to learn something from this episode. Do not forget to subscribe on our YouTube channel and follow us on our social media pages. There are so much more episodes to watch out for, and see you on the next one.